fact, women's sex drives decreased during lockdown, and as a result, they are now turning to libido-enhancing pills to get them back in the mood.
But do they really work? Dr Philippa is joining us now. Good morning.
Good morning, morning.
So, according to this research, 25% of Britons didn't have sex at all. Close to 40% had less sex in 2020 because their libido had lessened during lockdown. Explain libido. So it's a sort of an umbrella word, isn't it?
Libido means your sex drive, your desire to have sex, which is not just intercourse, it's any form of giving or receiving pleasure. And it's hugely complicated because we as human beings are hugely complicated. So there may be physical components. And it's not the same, for example, someone might have a problem with getting erections or painful sex. That can lead to low libido, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to have sex. So there can be physical issues related to sex. There can be physical health issues. So if you have a long-term health condition, that can decrease your libido. There can be hormonal issues. Your testosterone might fall. After the menopause, your estrogen and testosterone might fall. Can be related to pregnancy, breastfeeding, after having a baby. There can be psychological issues that are related to it. Your libido goes down when you're stressed. It goes down when you're tired. But it also goes down if you have depression or anxiety. It can be related to your relationship, issues within that. And then side effect from medicines, alcohol, drugs. So it is really complicated. And that's why, potentially, there isn't a magic bullet for it.
Well, let's talk about that, because this, obviously, what you've just discussed there, many women are turning to these libido-enhancing pills. So what are they and what's in them?
So there's lots of different ones available on the market, ranging from £1,100 from Harrods for 32 syringes of something to eat, to £450 for an intravenous drip, to something that you can buy on the local high street. And they contain various herbs and supplements that are said to improve your libido, but there isn't hardcore gold standard evidence for any of them. So some of those supplements might be things like fenugreek, which has been touted as potentially helping you to increase estrogen and testosterone. Something like saffron, which is sometimes called the sunshine supplement, and there is some evidence that might help with sexual dysfunction related to antidepressants. But there isn't. So there might be a little bit of this or a little bit of that, but there isn't a supplement right now which is definitely proven to work. And some of that might be because of this. When they first did studies into Viagra, which is that famous little blue pill treatment for erectile dysfunction, the placebo response was really high. And perhaps that's because your brain is a really significant sex organ.
And
well,
so
that's interesting.
When you mention fenugreek and saffron and the things that, you hear naturally, everybody's looking more and more to natural remedies and sort of Chinese medicine, natural remedies. So you would imagine, and you can understand why women would go in that direction.
I can definitely understand why people want to do something to help. Now, the first question that people always ask me when they come into the surgery is it normal? Is my libido normal? And there is no normal. It's simply, does it bother you? Is it causing an issue for you in your relationship? Now, yes, people are turning to herbal supplements, and I always say make sure that you check with your pharmacist or your doctor, because if there's something in them that works, it might interact with something else. So fenugreek, for example, can interact with blood thinners. So you might be on something that could cause a problem, but there are things that you can do yourself. Now, the first is, it is important to go to the doctor and check out, is there a medical reason that can be fixed? And
if you can get an appointment.
We're doing our best. And so, for example, treatments increasing your estrogen, potentially giving testosterone during the menopause can be useful. Giving testosterone to men can be useful. Exercise makes a really big difference, increases blood flow. Not smoking, not drinking too much. People often say, oh, I drink to get in the mood, but actually alcohol suppresses your libido in the longer term. And then there are other things that you can do, something called sensate therapy, which is about removing the pressure of sex, removing the pressure of intercourse as sex, and learning to reconnect in another way. And that can really help. For example, people will say, OK, well, we're just going to hold hands, or we're just going to look at each other for a period of time, and learning that reconnection again can be useful. Psychosexual counselling is available. And that definitely can make a difference. And although
what is that counselling?
So it's counselling that you would have potentially with a partner to talk about some of the issues that you have, how to manage them, how to accept what we've got and manage that, but also techniques to make that better. And so it may be, for example, that you have a physical health condition, something like vaginismus, where there is an involuntary spasm of the vagina that means that penetration is really painful, might not even be possible. And whilst there are treatments for that, some psychosexual counselling at the same time can help you in your relationship manage that. Now, counterintuitively, more orgasms increase your libido. And so it doesn't actually matter how you have them, be that on your own or with somebody else. Often, actually, having more orgasms can increase your libido in the longer term.
Let's talk about one of the things you mentioned a moment ago, because it's how far it can go if you are worried about it, and also, you know, who has the funds. But Harrods have got these supplements. They offer a libido enhancer IV drip for £240 for 45 minutes at the in-store clinic. Sell boxes of caramel-flavoured syringes which contain cordyceps mushrooms designed to heighten the sex drive, and at £1,100 for a box of 32.
Yeah. So, sorry, I got the price wrong about the drip before. So these are obviously very expensive treatments, and there is no evidence that they work, no definitive evidence that they work. Now, when we're talking about drips, there are still risks involved. Somebody is putting a line into your arm, there's a risk of infection. But when you look at the ingredients in them, yes, there are some vitamins. Lots of them are water-soluble vitamins that you might just then urinate out. You know, and there's lots of nice saline in there. Very expensive for essentially just something that hydrates you, and there isn't evidence. But what I think is important is that it really shows how worried people are about it.
I mean, how often do you get asked that question? How often? Because you said when people come and say, is it normal? I mean, is it something that's commonly asked?
More so recently than I would say when I first started practising, but I think that I definitely see this more in women, where there is potentially a mismatch in the libido between them and their partner.
Which biologically there is a mismatch.
Because women have less testosterone. We don't have no testosterone, but we have less testosterone, and testosterone is involved with sex drive. But actually, classically, women are coming to me saying that they're coming for menopausal symptoms, and when I ask them about sex, they say, what do you mean? I'm not interested at all anymore. And that's a big change for them. And that is, again, due to the change in hormone levels. So I think that it is something that is being talked about much more often. And the answer is, if it matters to you, then we need to talk about it.
OK, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.